Hello and welcome to this tutorial on the Sashay yarn shirt dresses. Today, to make your Sashay yarn shirt dress, you are going to need a few items. Let's go over the items that you will need. First, the most important part is the shirt. You need to decide what shirt you're going to use. You can use a solid shirt like I am using today, or you can use a shirt that has a pattern on it. You just want to make sure that your sachet yarn goes well and complements the color of the shirt and any pattern that you have on it. You can use any size shirt you want. You can use a newborn, you can use a toddler, a child, an adult. It doesn't matter. You just have to pick the shirt you want. Today for this tutorial, I am going to be using a 12-month shirt. So once you have your shirt, we're going to put that to the side. You also need to pick out the sachet yarn that you want to use. For today's tutorial, I'm going to be using Starbella. It is from the Premier Yarns, and it's in the colorway Mardi Gras. So I'm going to be using the Mardi Gras color, and you can see it's got lots of colors in it. They're not quite coming out clear to their true colors. Well, they are now, okay, because now you can see a little bit of this burgundy running through here. We've got some brown here. We've got some orange deep down in here. We've got some black. We've got a little bit of dark purple right there. And we've got like this pink magenta type color running through here. And I thought I saw one more color. Nope, that's it. But anyway, some very, very pretty yarn. All right, what is sachet yarn? Sachet yarn is the yarn that you pull apart, and it's like a netting. Okay? But we'll show you this a little bit more when we get started. You're also going to need some fine thread, crochet thread. I choose to pick the thread that is very close in color to the shirt that I'm using. I'm using this gray shirt, and right now I don't have any more light gray thread, so I'm going to use white. And even though you can see that a little bit, you can see that there's white running through my gray shirt, so this is still going to complement it very well. And the sachet yarn is going to hide it a little bit, so really it doesn't matter, but I'm just kind of particular, and I try to match my crochet thread to my shirt. All right, so once you have, and you will not need very much of this at all. All right, then the last couple things you need is, of course, you will need a pair of scissors, and you will need a darning needle. I choose to use a darning needle that has a little bit of the bent hook on it. You lay it down and you can see it's not quite straight. It's got a little bit of an angle to it. That's my favorite type to use, especially with this project, and you'll see why when we get started. And the last thing you need is something to poke holes in your shirt. This is actually a candy tool. It's used with candy. I've got a very simple one. You just need it to be very sharp. There are some jewelry tools that are out that are used to help pick up beads. You can use that if you've got a jewelry making kit, as long as it's a little bit sharp and it can poke through that shirt. This one, my friend who works at the bake shop made this one specifically for me. Aren't those beads just gorgeous? And she put a butterfly on the end of it. So that is mine, and it is a little bit sharp, so you do have to be careful, but that's what you want. You need something that's got a little bit of a sharp edge to it. Okay, if you're ready, we're going to get started. But I have one final thing that I would like to do before we get started. Anytime I go to work with any of my crochet projects, I like to put a little bit of lotion on my hands to keep them nice and moisturized. And not only is this good for working with yarn, especially if you have dry skin, to keep it from snagging on the yarn, but it helps take care of your hands. It keeps them hydrated and healthy, and that way you are sure to be able to crochet for a long time to come, and it just keeps your hands looking nice. Alright, so once we have that lotion rubbed in very well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. So you need to first grab your shirt. So here's the top of my shirt, and here's the bottom. This is where we're going to be working right now. You need to grab your sharp tool so that you can be able to poke holes in the edge of your shirt. And it doesn't matter for this part, but I just make a habit of starting from a side and going to the other, or coming back around to finish at the same side. So I'm going to start right here on the side, and in this seam right here, I'm going to go ahead and poke my first hole. Now, you want to make sure that when you poke your holes, that you're not doing it right on the edge, so there's room for the shirt to tear and then your hole is not secure. But you don't want it way up here either. So I come probably about midway of that seam that runs along the bottom of the shirt. You can see it's got the little fancy stitching right there. So I'm going to come halfway on that seam, and then I'm just going to poke my hole. And of course I'm in the exact seam, so that one's a little bit thicker there. You'll see in just a minute it's not so hard. And there's my first hole. Alright, then I'm just going to come out probably about an inch, and I'm going to make my next hole. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to repeat that. And I'm just going to keep moving along and punching my holes. And this is what it's looking like. You can see those holes. This, where we're putting the holes, this is where we're going to create the foundation row. Like you would with any crochet project, you have a foundation row. We're going to be able to use this. So right now the holes would be equivalent to if we were making a chain. And you can see it moves rather quickly. And you want to just try to keep them kind of evenly spaced every time. And we're about to come up to the other side seam in just a minute. All right, so here's the next seam. We just made a hole right here. So I'm just going to keep doing as what I've been doing. And evenly space it. So I'm on the other side now. And I'm just going to keep going until I get back to where I started. And we're almost there. And we're just about there. We just got that much left. Alright, so here's my first hole right here in the seam. It's really tough because it's in the seam where it's got all the material. And here's the last hole I made. I just want to make sure I'm making that about halfway between the first and the very last stitch I made. So we're going to do it about right there. And that completes it. We now have holes all the way around our shirt, and you can see those very nice. Anytime I see these little frayed ends like this on my shirt, I just kind of carefully clip those off. You don't want to actually cut any of the thread, just those frayed ends that are sticking up like that. Okay. But again, you can see all the holes going through. All right. So I've got my shirt back over to the front here. After you finish putting the holes around the band, the base of the shirt, you want to lay your shirt out and make sure it's nice and flat. And then you want to get your crochet thread, and you're going to lay it across the bottom of your shirt. Now, let me slide my shirt over. You can see I've got it hanging off just a little bit. That's going to be so I can hold it down. All right, and then you're going to go across the first time, and that is 1. And again, on the other side, I just let it come off just a little bit so I've got a place to hold. Okay, so now I'm going to hold this side and I'm going to bring it back across, and that's 2. And then I'm going to put my finger down on this side and bring it back across. That's 3. Put my finger down on the left side and bring that crochet thread back across the bottom of the shirt. That's 4. Put my finger to hold it, and I'm going to pull that thread back across from right to left to make 5. Put my finger down to hold it. I'm going to pull it back across for the 6th time, and I'm going to put my finger down to hold it. I'm going to bring it back across for the 7th time, put my finger down and hold it. I'm going to bring it back across from left to right for the 8th time, put my finger down and hold it, and then I'm going to, actually I don't need to hold it, I'm going to then cut my thread, and I like to come up between the middle here, like halfway between what would have been coming back across for 9, just like that. So it gives me a little bit of extra thread for creating my knot. Once I've done that, I then want to find both ends of my thread and put them together. So I have the starting thread excuse me, and the ending thread. I'm going to slip one of them, it doesn't matter which one, on my darning needle, or slip my darning needle on it, so that now it is attached. Sorry. So now that it's attached to my thread, just like that. All right. We're going to come back down to our 2 ends, and we're going to knot them together. And you can see that gives you a fairly nice size knot. And then I'm just going to clip off that end, but I'm going to come out just a tad bit from the knot. So I've got just a little bit of thread hanging off that knot. And that helps to keep it secure. Okay, so now we're going to get started with creating what's basically going to be the chain for us to work with our yarn. I always like to start on a side, and it's just easier for me, being right-handed I guess, to start on the left side. So I'm going to come to that left seam that runs down the side of the shirt, and I'm going to go ahead and place my darning needle in. You want to work from the inside of the shirt out. So I'm going to place my darning needle on the inside and pull it out that hole that I created a little while ago. Excuse me. And grab a little drink there. And then I'm just going to pull that thread through. And then right before I pull it all the way so that the knot is up against the shirt, I'm going to then grab my darning needle, and I'm going to go in between the threads up underneath that knot, and I'm going to pull my thread through. And then I'm going to pull it tight, but I want my knot to be on the inside of the shirt. So I'm going to hold it down like that while I pull the rest of my thread through, so that you can see right there, my knot is on the inside of the shirt now. It's not on the tip of the edge of the shirt. It's not on the outside of the shirt. It's laying up against the shirt right at that hole. Okay. And now we've got our thread attached to our shirt. We're going to go and put our darning needle into the next hole, and again we're going to go from the inside of the shirt to the outside and pull that thread through, and just pull slowly, because if you pull fast then it gets all tangled and it can create a mess. And you want to pull it tight, but you don't want to pull it so tight that it causes the shirt to bunch like that. So just have it tight, but kind of loose, if that makes any sense. All right, so then you're going to take your darning needle and go back through on the inside of the shirt through that little loop that you just created, and you're going to go from the top, pushing your darning needle down through the center of it and coming out the bottom and pulling your thread. All right, when you do that, you can see that you've created a loop and you've got two little edges on the very border of the shirt. You want to pull it tight, but not too tight. Again, you don't want your shirt bunching. And when I pull it, I also pull it to the left side of that loop so that it gives it a nice little uniform opening there that can create my chain. Let's do another one and you can see what I'm talking about. Insert your darning needle from the inside of the shirt, push it through the hole to the outside, and just pull that thread all the way through. And you want to have your threads nice and straight. There you go. And again, it's tight, but it's not so tight that it's creating a bunch. It's not causing the shirt to bunch up. All right, go from the top down, back through that loop you just created between the two holes, and pull your thread through. And this is going to create another loop. And again, I pull it just a little bit tight, and I pull it to the left, just like that. Let's do another one. Insert through the hole from the inside of the shirt to the outside. All right. Nice and tight, but not too tight that it bunches. Bring your darning needle and come from the top down on that loop on the inside of the shirt. And you can see how easy, I mean, you can use a straight darning needle, but it's just easier to kind of go in there and push through with that little bent needle. But pull it all the way through. And again, you want it nice and tight, but not too tight. And then I pull that working thread all the way to the left. So it's creating this nice little loop for me to be able to work in. Again, your loops are on the inside of the shirt. Okay, that's what the outside's going to look like. All right, let's do another one. And if you go to put your needle through and you're just having a hard time getting it through, then just take your tool and repuncture that hole to open it up a little bit more. Sometimes, especially on the seams, I may have to get a pair of pliers to pull my needle, my darning needle through. And so as you can see, we're just going to keep doing the same thing all the way around the shirt until we get back to where we started. Okay. I'll do a couple more with you, and then I'm going to ask you to pause the video and continue working around on your own. And then we'll come back and I will show you how to join to the very first loop that we created. My thread keeps getting stuck on my mat. It's got these little puzzle piece ends, as you can see, like right here, how they attach. And so the ones on the end don't have anything attached to them, so it's real easy for my thread to get caught on them. All right. I'm going to do this last one with you, and then I'm going to leave you to go around the shirt doing the same thing all the way around. So let's do one final one together. You're going to insert your darning needle from the inside of the shirt through the hole you created, push it to the outside of the shirt, pull your thread all the way through. You do want to kind of make sure you're pulling the thread a little bit slow. Take your time, be patient with it, because if you don't, it's very easy for this thread to get all knotted and tangled up, and then you have quite a mess. All right, once you've got it pulled all the way through, nice and tight, but not too tight that it bunches the shirt, you want to take your needle, come back to the inside of the shirt, and go to the loop you just created, and you want to start from the top, push your darning needle down to the bottom, and pull that through. Once you've done that, you want to kind of give it a nice little tug so it's nice and tight and straight, and then pull it to the left so it creates this pretty little loop. All right, so continue working on this, going all the way around, and when you have completed, then come back and I will show you how to attach your thread from the last loop you create to the first loop you created with the knot. So when you get to the end, and as you can see, I have just enough thread with just a tad bit left over. So I actually measured mine just right. But just in case you get to the end and you have just a couple more stitches left and you're running out of thread, let me show you something that you can always do. And you can start, you know, all the way back at the beginning if you need a little bit more, like for, you know, more than just a couple holes. But I really have enough, but just to show you, you can see how sometimes your thread looks a little bit loose. You can always, let's just start right here. You can always grab that end piece right there and pull it through. See how loose that is? And I can keep doing that all the way around, just grabbing and tightening that just a little bit, and see how much it's already given me. So all I'm doing is just pulling on the ends and the loops that I created and getting just a little bit more thread. Look how much I'm already building up extra. So if you've got, you know, 4, 6, 7 holes left, start at the beginning and do this all the way around. Again, I've just done it maybe about 20-25 stitches out, and look how much I've already got. I can do that one again, get a little bit more. It's not quite. There we go. There we go. And you can see it's giving me a little bit of extra. All right, and see how much extra that gave me? Okay, so when you're at the very end, you're then going to take your darning needle and go right back into the very first hole so that you create a loop, just like you have been all the way around. All right, I got this one pulled too tight. There we go. I'm going to loosen it up just a little bit because we don't want the shirt bunching. We want everything to lay nice and flat. All right. And so then I'm going to do the same thing. Go down from the top of the loop to the bottom so that it creates the final loop. This last one is a little bit tight, so I'm trying to loosen it up a little bit. There we go. All right. There we go. All right, so then whatever you have left, you want to take it and cut it. And then I usually grab a small crochet hook, but I don't have one handy. So let me just use my darning needle. I'm then going to take one end of the thread and I'm going to pull it through that very first loop that I created. And then I'm going to take the two little ends and I'm going to knot them. Just regular knots. And I just do it a couple times. This will be my third one. And that's just making sure it's nice and secure so that through washes and wear that it stays put. Alright, so once I have that done, then I'm going to trim off those little extra pieces. And I now have the foundation row, the chain, so to speak, if you will, of my shirt done. Okay? Again, it doesn't have to be perfect because this is going to be covered up. Okay? Alright, so the next thing we need to do is grab our sachet yarn. And I like to take my fingers and put them in both ends and find my fingers in the middle. And then either side, it doesn't matter. Whichever one I can get my fingers in the easiest. I just reach in and try to grab that center gut. And look at there. Perfect. And find that end piece. Alright. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull some of this out. Look at those pretty colors. Just going to pull some of that out like that. And then to make it easier, if you've ever worked with this yarn, you know that even if you're doing a scarf or whatever, that it's a lot easier if you go ahead and start opening it up just like this. Just pulling it apart and spreading it wide open. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a few minutes to do that. So as I start working with this with you, that it will flow easier and you'll be able to see what I'm doing a lot easier. So right now, all I'm doing is opening my sachet yarn up. Oh, these colors are so pretty. This is going to be a nice fall little shirt. Dress. And what's so cool about these is, you know, they can still wear them with like a legging, and they can even put a turtleneck under them, so they can be worn in the fall and winter time. And honestly, I don't even see why these couldn't be done to sweatshirts. And again, I'm just continuing to work through this a little bit to get it open up. Because you can see as you go, it will twist. That's the hard part about this yarn, is that it will twist. So the more you can work it open, the better it's going to be for you. And we will, you know, come across that as we continue working. All right, I'm just going to open up just a little bit more, and then we'll go ahead and get started. And again, the hard part about this yarn is that it will twist up on you. And there's really nothing you can really do about that. It's just the nature of working with this type of yarn. The church bells are going off and playing hymns, so you may hear those in the background a little bit. They do that at the top of every hour. All right, so I've worked a good bit out, so let's go ahead and get started on our shirt. So the first thing I do, if you look at this, you do have a top and a bottom to this yarn. And on the bottom, there's actually a wider band like this. That's your bottom. Your top are single strands. Okay, so you want to have the bottom on the bottom and the top on the top. So on this first piece, just like you would if you were making a scarf or anything else with this, I'm going to fold it over and double it right here at the beginning. Okay? And I'm going to try to line it up with the holes. All right, that one doesn't have anything to line up with, so I'm going to bring it down one. Okay. Let me grab the end here. Trying to show this so you can see everything that I'm doing. Okay. Here we go. That one's open, so we'll bring that one. And I'm going to loop it on my finger like that. All right. Then we have that one. And now we have this one. So that's what I'm going to start with. All right. You know, the one thing I didn't show you in the beginning was a crochet hook. You need a crochet hook. So bear with me while I pause and go get a crochet hook. Okay, so I got a 6mm hook. Again, you could use, you know, an H or an I. All right, so I'm going to pick my yarn up, and again, I like to start on the side, and I usually go right where the knot is, and I'm going to enter my hook there, and then I've got my yarn folded. I'm going to put the last two strands right here, which is right at the fold. I'm going to put that on my hook, and I'm going to bring it through. Okay, all right, then I'm going to go find the next hole, and because it's doubled, where I doubled it over to get it started, I'm going to make sure I have both, and I'm going to put it on my hook, and I'm going to pull it right through, just like that, just like you would if you were doing a single crochet. All right, so now I've got it secured on, and now I'm going to go right into the next little chain that I've created with that crochet thread, and I'm going to grab the next hole, and I'm going to pull it through. All right, so now I have 2 loops on my hook, just like I would if we're doing a single crochet, and I'm going to go find the next hole, put it on my hook, and I'm going to pull it through both of those loops, just like I would if I was doing a single crochet. All right, I'm going to enter my hook into the next chain that I created with the crochet thread on the shirt. I'm going to grab my yarn and go to the next opening hole, pull that through. That has 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to go to the next one, yarn over, and pull through both of those loops just like I would with a single crochet. All right, I'm going to go to the next one, insert my hook, and put another one on my hook. It's like I'm yarning over. I'm going to pull that through. I now have 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to put the next one on my hook like I'm yarning over and pull it through both loops. And that's what I'm doing. Let's keep going. Insert my hook into the next loop I created with the crochet thread. Find the next hole, and it acts like a yarn over. Pull it through the loop. I now have 2 loops on my hook. Find the next hole, yarn it over my hook, and pull it through those 2 loops. And I'm just going to continue doing this. Let's do a couple more together. So again, we're going to go to the next loop we created with the crochet thread on the shirt, insert our hook, find the next opening loop at the top of the sachet yarn, put it on our hook, pull it through that loop. We now have 2 loops of the sachet yarn on our hook. Find the next hole at the top of the sachet yarn and pull it through both loops. And we're just going to do this all the way around the shirt. Once you get to this part, it's going to go fast. The hardest, and I wouldn't even say hardest, but the longest part is creating the holes and creating the foundation chain with the crochet thread around the shirt. That's where the most of your time will be with this project. I mean, as you can see, we're already going around the shirt rather quickly. And again, it helps to open up that yarn before you start. on average, I have been making about 2 shirts per skein. Now, if it's a bigger shirt, I might can do an adult size shirt and like a really small shirt, like for an infant or a little baby, 12 months, anywhere from newborn to 12 months on one skein. But you would not be able to do 2 adult shirts on one. Now, for 12 months and younger, so newborn to 12 months, we do a total of 2 rows. If you're doing 18 months to adult, you'll want to do 3 rows of the yarn. And right now we're working on our first row. All right. And again, insert your hook into the crochet thread that you've used to create a loop on the shirt. Grab the top of the sachet yarn. You've got 2 loops on your hook of the sachet yarn. Go find the next loop at the top of the sachet yarn and pull it through both loops as if you're doing a single crochet. And in just a minute, I'm going to show you what this looks like so far. We're coming up at the halfway mark of the shirt because we're about to come to the side seam on the other side of the shirt. Again, insert your hook into the loop on the shirt from the crochet thread. Put the sachet yarn with the next loop on your hook. You have 2 loops on your hook. Grab the next loop at the top of the sachet yarn and pull it through those 2 to complete your single crochet. And it looks like we're about 2 stitches away from our side. The stitches again are created by, are the loops, I guess, the foundation chain are created by the crochet thread that we put around the shirt. And this makes such a nice dress for little ones, baby dolls. Now the adults, it's more like a shirt that can be worn over leggings, but I don't know that it would be long enough unless you got an extra, you went up a couple sizes than what the person wearing it's would normally wear. Then it might be long enough to do as a dress for an adult. But all right, so we've already passed that side seam, and as you can tell, we just kept going just like we have been. Now let me try and stop and show you a little bit of what this is looking like. So this is what it's already looking like. And honestly, my light is not doing justice on the colors. This is more of like a magenta pink, and it looks kind of red. This looks like navy blue, and it's a bright purple. So maybe when I take a picture of the finished product, the lighting that I take the picture in, you'll be able to see it. But okay, let's go back to our shirt and keep going. That color was black, so it was hard to see it. But we're coming into this orange, so hopefully you can see better. See, I've got my 2 loops on the hook. And I'm starting to get to the part where I stopped opening my yarn up. And in a minute you're going to see kind of what I run into with it not being open. And you can see how fast this is working. We're coming back around towards the beginning already. Okay, I'm going to stop a minute and pull a little bit more of this yarn out, and I'm just going to take a minute to open it up a little bit so I can keep working. And when you do this, it also helps keep this yarn from twisting so bad. And I know you want to just do it and get it done, but you can see how it's twisting already. So even though it's a little time consuming, it is so worth opening that up. And even if you're not working on a table like we are currently, if you just take a few minutes and pull some of your yarn out and open it up, it helps, whether you're, working on this on your lap or on a table. But it will twist. It's just the way this yarn is. But it does seem to twist less if you just kind of open it up. All right. I'm going to come back to this next color of orange. We'll stop for a minute. Okay, we're at the orange now. So let me get this orange open. All right. So move all this out the way. And we're going to come back. And finish up these last stitches on this first round. You're doing a great job. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment below, and I will answer your question as quickly as I can. I will be checking back on this video often, so whenever you're working on this, that you don't have to wait long for the answer, or you can always email me. My email is located on my About page, and I can answer. If you still have any questions, or if you're struggling with this at all, let me know, and I can set up a private one-on-one and show you through StreamYard. Alright, so we're almost back to the beginning, and I will show you how to join and start the second round. Okay. We have about 6 more stitches, give or take, left on this first round. I'm doing the black in this variegated, so I know it's kind of tough to see those stitches with the black, but that orange is coming up, so that will, there we go. Good, we got that black out of the way before we increase to the second row so you can see better. All right, 1, 2, 3 stitches left. And once again, I'm just inserting into the stitch I created with the crochet thread, grabbing the sachet yarn at the top in the next loop. Have 2 loops on my hook. I grab the next loop of the top of the sachet yarn, pull it through those 2, creating a single crochet. And here I am on the very last one. Okay, so we've completed 1 whole row, but now we want to join the 2. So just like you would with any other crochet project, any other yarn, we're going to go right into that first one that we slip stitch on to get it started, and we're going to do just that. We're going to do a slip stitch. So once you've inserted your hook into the first stitch you made with the sachet yarn, go to the top of the working sachet yarn, grab the next loop, and we're going to pull it through just like a slip stitch. And now we have joined it. Just like that. All right, just like we would to increase, we're going to grab the top loop of the working sachet yarn and put it on our hook. And we're going to slip stitch it or chain 1, however you want to look it, with the yarn. And now we're ready for our next row. So we're going to go right into, and you can see it when you do your stitches just like you do with any other yarn and crochet. You're going to go right into that stitch, and then you're going to put your working sachet yarn, the next loop, on your hook. You're going to pull it through. You've got 2 loops. Complete your single crochet by grabbing the next opening loop on the top of the sachet working yarn and pull it through. And we're now going to do this all the way around, doing the exact same thing we did on the first row, except now this is the second row. So once again, you're going to go into that opening hole of the first row, insert your hook, grab the next available loop at the top of the sachet working yarn and bring it through. You have 2 loops on your hook now. Go to the top of the working sachet yarn, grab the next available loop and pull it through. And we're going to continue doing this all the way around for the second round. Just like this. Insert your hook into the first stitch you created on round 1. grab the next available loop at the top of the working sachet yarn, pull up a loop. You've got 2 on your hook. Go to the top of the working sachet yarn, grab the next available loop and put it on your hook, and pull it through both of the loops that were already on your hook. All right, I'm going to let you pause the video and continue working around this second round. Again, just like we did on the first round, and just like I've already shown you on this second round. And you're going to keep doing that all the way until you get back to where we started. When you get there, I will then show you how to join this second round and how to fasten off. So go ahead and complete this round, and I will meet back when you get to where we started at the beginning of the second round. Before I let you go, you can already see how fluffy that's becoming with those 2 layers on there. See, there's your first layer, and here's your second layer. Okay? All right, go ahead and finish up, and I'll meet back up with you. All right, so I've stopped a few stitches away from the beginning. And I want to tell you that if you're not used to working with the sachet yarn, when you go to start your second, and if you're making a 3rd row or even a 4th, if that's your choice, you can always use a stitch marker. But let me show you also, if you don't use a stitch marker and you've never worked with this yarn, how to tell when you've got multiple rows. And you can tell as well because the yarn, you can see like 1 row here and then the 2nd row. But let me show you with the stitches. So here's where we have 2 rows of stitches, and you can see the 1st row, and then you can see the 2nd row. Let me show you when it's just 1 row. So you can see these stitches here create 1 row. Now let me hold up when there's 2. See the difference? All right, so let's go ahead and finish this second round, and I'm going to show you how to fasten off. So I'm just going to finish out these remaining stitches. And so again, you can see it doesn't take long to make one of these. The longest part is punching the holes in the shirt and creating your foundation row with the crochet thread. It looks like we got 2 stitches left. So there's 1, and now we're on the very last stitch. Open my yarn up here. Don't have to do very far because I'm just about finished. And then that created the last stitch. And you can see right here, actually, we've got 1 stitch left. I apologize for that. So let's actually complete the last stitch. So go right in there and single crochet. All right, now you can see this is where we slip stitch to join the round and then did a chain 1. All you're going to do is just like you would in normal crochet, you're going to go right into the top of that first stitch and you're going to do a slip stitch. Pull your yarn through and then slip stitch it. All right, then always on my projects, and here we're at the blacks, of course it's going to be a little bit difficult to see, and I do apologize for that. It's just the way it worked out. But I always like to chain 2 when I'm ending off any of my projects, and that helps to just secure the yarn down. Now I'm just going to open this up just a little ways. You don't have to do very much. So I'm just going to come to where the orange and the brown here. So that's probably about, I don't know, about 5 inches away from where we finished the stitch. And I'm just going to cut it off. We're done. Now what I'm going to do is take the remaining yarn that's left from where I cut it off, and I'm going to take it and wrap it around my hook and pull it through that very last stitch that I had on the hook, and just work it through. And once you start getting it through, you can take the hook out and then you can just pull it. See, this is the stitch right here, and I'm just going to pull all that through just like that. So now it's nice and secure and it's not going to go anywhere. All right, then if you take the yarn right here, it is. Okay, this is the black, which is the color of the stitch I had, and then the next color, you're going to take that yarn and you're now going to pull it back through, but you're not going to pull it all the way through. You're going to then take your loose end, your cut off end, and you're going to put it through that loop, because what you're doing is creating a knot. So now it is fully secure on there. And once you make that knot, it's hard to get it loose again, so you do not have to worry about it coming undone. And you can see the way that the yarn goes, that knot is not very visible. Okay. Then, just out from the knot, about an inch or so, cut it off. All that's going to fall on the underside so you won't see it. And then I'm just going to throw this away. And you have completed your little dress shirt. Let me clean the table off here. So we have nothing but the shirt on here. All right, and here's the top of the shirt and our dress. And here is the bottom. Now I'm going to take a picture of it hanging up so you can see it better, and hopefully in that picture the colors will show up a lot truer than what they are right now. But that is your little shirt dress, and of course when you separate it, it's not so full. And that's why with 12 months or younger, I only do 2 rows, because you don't want it to be so thick for a little one. But the bigger they get, you want it to be a little bit fluffier, especially when it's hanging down. All right, so if you'll sit back and relax a minute and admire your project, I am going to pop up on the screen right here some pictures of this shirt hanging up so you can see what it looks like. Thank you for joining me for this tutorial on the Sashay yarn shirt dress. I hope you had fun and enjoyed making this project. If you did, please be sure and hit the like button and give me a thumbs up. Love receiving joy thumbs, but even more than joy thumbs, I love hearing your feedback. So please be sure and leave me comments in the comment section below. If you did decide to make this project, I would love to see your fabulous makes. So please go to my About page and either go to my email, my Facebook, or my Instagram account and send me pictures of what you've made. I would love to see them. Well, this ends our video for today. So thank you again for joining me, and Be joyful, stay crafty in your own way, and make your own joyful creations.